"Who is Daniel Carter?" I shouted. "And why is your face on his card?" James looked at the old photo in my hand. His face became white. For 8 years I called him my husband. Now I did not know his real name. "Emma, please let me explain," he said. I moved away from him. "Is James even your real name?" He closed his eyes and said one word. "No." I could hear our family clock behind us. Each sound made the silence worse. I wanted him to say it was a mistake. I wanted him to laugh and explain everything, but he only looked at the floor. To understand how I reached that moment, I must go back 3 days. My name is Emma, and I was 34. James and I were married for 8 years. We had 2 young daughters and a quiet home. James was a kind husband and a caring father. He worked hard and came home every evening. He helped with dinner and read to the girls. I believed I knew everything important about him. He told me his parents died many years ago. He also said he had no brothers or sisters. James never spoke much about his younger years. When I asked questions, he gave short answers. I thought those years made him sad. I did not want to push him. However, one small job in our garage changed how I saw our whole life. It started on a normal Saturday morning. James went to work for a few hours. I stayed home and cleaned the garage. We wanted to sell some old chairs. I needed space near the back wall. Behind the chairs, I found a small wooden box. It was under an old green blanket. I never saw that box before. A little lock hung from the front. The lock was open, but the top was hard to lift. Inside, I found old clothes and several photos. One photo showed a young man beside a teenage boy. The young man looked exactly like James. On the back, someone wrote 2 names, Daniel and Peter. Then I found an old identity card. The name on it was Daniel Carter. I sat on the garage floor and read it again. Daniel Carter. The birth date was the same as James's date. The face was also his face. The card was old, but I felt sure. My husband was the man in that photo. I searched through the box again. I found a school paper with Daniel's name. I also found a birthday card. To Daniel, the best big brother, it said. The card came from Peter. My hand started to shake. James told me he was an only child, yet this card called him a big brother. I heard his car outside and quickly closed the box. For the first time in our marriage, I felt afraid of his answer. James came into the kitchen 10 minutes later. He smiled and kissed my head. "Did you clear the garage?" he asked. I looked at his face for a long moment. I wanted to show him the card at once, but I could not speak. "I found an old wooden box," I said. His smile disappeared. "Which box?" His voice sounded very low. "The one under the green blanket." He put his keys on the table. His hand missed the table and the keys fell. "Did you open it?" he asked. I said the lock was already open. James walked toward the garage without another word. I followed him, but he closed the garage door before I reached it. James stayed in the garage for almost an hour. When he returned, the wooden box was gone. "Where did you put it?" I asked. He took a glass of water. He did not look at me. "Those things are private," he said. "Private from your wife?" I asked. He rubbed his forehead. "They came from a bad time." I waited for more, but he said nothing. "Who is Daniel?" I asked. The glass stopped near his mouth. Daniel was someone I knew long ago. I knew he was not telling the truth. His picture was on the card. His birth date was on it too. I asked one more question. "Who was Peter?" James slowly put down the glass. This time his eyes filled with fear. "Peter was a boy from my old town," James said. "Only a boy?" I asked. James turned toward the window. "I cannot talk about this now." His answer made me angry. "You told me you had no family," I said. "You told me your past was simple." James asked me to give him time. I asked how much time he needed. We were married for 8 years. Was that not enough time? He walked upstairs and closed the bedroom door. I stayed alone in the kitchen. Every memory now brought a new question. Why did he avoid old photos? Why did we never visit his hometown? Why did no childhood friend call him? That evening, I saw him carrying the wooden box toward his car. I opened the front door and stood before him. "You are not taking that box," I said. James held it tightly. "Emma, please move." I did not move. "You want to hide it again," I said. "You want another 8 years of silence." His face looked tired. He carried the box back inside. Then he placed it on the table. "I changed my name," he said. My chest felt tight. "Why?" I asked. "Was James ever your name?" He shook his head. "My name was Daniel Carter." I looked at the man before me. He looked like my husband, but his words made him seem far away. Then I asked about Peter again. James sat down and whispered, "Peter was my younger brother." I could not understand his answer. James often said he never had a brother. I picked up the old birthday card. "He called you the best big brother," I said. James covered his face. "Please stop." I became more angry. "No, you will not stop this talk again." He stood and walked around the kitchen. "Peter died when he was 14, he said. The anger in me became quiet for one moment. I asked what happened. James said there was an accident near a lake. Then he stopped speaking. "Were you there?" I asked. He looked at me, but he did not answer. I asked again. His eyes filled with tears. "Yes," he said. "I was there because I was caring for him." James said he needed air and walked into the garden. I followed him. "What happened at the lake?" I asked. He sat on the back step. "I cannot tell you today." I stared at him. "You already chose silence for 8 years." He said he wanted to protect our family. I did not accept that answer. "You protected yourself," I said. He looked hurt, but I continued. "I married James Miller. I shared my life with James Miller. Now you tell me that person never existed." He stood quickly. "My love for you was real," he said. I asked how I could trust those words. He could not answer. Then he said something worse. "There are more things you do not know." I went into the kitchen and sat alone. James stayed outside. After some time, he returned with the wooden box. He took out another photo. It showed him with Peter and 2 older people. "My parents are alive," he said. I looked at him in shock. He told me they died before we met. "You said you had no one," I said. James nodded. "I left them. I never went back." I asked if they knew about me. He said no. They did not know about our marriage. They did not know about our daughters. I could not stay calm anymore. 8 years of birthdays, holidays, and family days filled my mind. His parents were alive during all of them, but James kept us hidden from them. "Why did you leave everyone?" I asked. James said Peter's death changed the family. His parents looked at him with pain. James also blamed himself every day. He left the town at 22. Later, he changed his name in a legal way. He moved to our city and started again. "You did not start again," I said. "You built our life on a false story." James said he wanted to tell me many times. On our first holiday, he almost told me. Before our wedding, he wrote a letter. After our first daughter was born, he tried again. "Where is that letter?" I asked. He reached into the box. Under the photos, there was a closed white envelope with my name. I opened the letter with shaking hands. The date came from 1 week before our wedding. James wrote that his real name was Daniel. He wrote that his brother died in an accident. He also wrote that he felt responsible. The letter ended with one request. He wanted me to know the truth before I married him. "Why did you never give this to me?" I asked. James said he became afraid. He thought I was going to leave him, so he put the letter in the box. "You made my choice for me," I said. "You decided I could not know you." He said he was sorry. I looked at the final line again. Then I noticed one fact he still did not explain. The letter said, "Peter died because of my choice." I placed it before James. "What choice?" I asked. His face changed again. He begged me to wait until morning. I refused. I needed the full truth now. "Did you hurt him?" I asked. No, he said quickly. I loved him. I pointed to the letter. Then explain this. James began to cry. He said Peter wanted to swim across part of the lake. Their parents told James to keep him away from deep water. James was 19 and wanted Peter to think he was a good brother. He allowed Peter to swim farther than usual. Then the weather changed. The water became rough, and Peter called for help. James said he jumped into the water. He tried to reach Peter. The waves pushed them apart. James called for help, but help came too late. Peter died that day. I told him he could swim there, James said. I was responsible for him. His parents never said the death was his fault. They wanted him to stay with them. But James saw pain on their faces. He felt sure they blamed him. So he left without a proper goodbye. He stopped answering their calls. Later, he became James Miller. Then you met me, I said. He nodded. And you let me love a person with a false past. He reached for my hand. I pulled it away. Then I asked the hardest question. If I did not find that box, would you ever tell me? I asked. James opened his mouth, but no words came. That silence gave me my answer. I stood and took off my wedding ring. James looked at it in my hand. Emma, please, he said. I placed the ring on the table. I need to leave this room. He asked if our marriage was over. I said I did not know. I loved him, but I did not trust him. Love could not answer every question. He started to explain again. I stopped him. No more small pieces, I said. Tell me everything now, or I will leave. James looked at the old photos. Then he made one final choice. James brought every paper from the box. He showed me his name change paper. He showed me old letters from his parents. He never opened most of them. The final letter came 2 years earlier. His mother wrote only a few lines. She said they still loved him. She said Peter's death was an accident. She asked Daniel to come home. James cried as I read it. Why did you keep this? I asked. He said part of him wanted to return. Another part still felt afraid. I was not running from them, he said. I was running from myself. I understood his pain, but I also saw his choices. His pain explained his silence. It did not make the silence right. I asked James to answer every question. He told me when he changed his name. He explained why he chose James. It was Peter's middle name. He kept one part of his brother with him. He also told me why he avoided the lake near our home. Every time he saw deep water, he remembered Peter. For the first time, I understood many small moments. Still, one truth remained. James lived beside me for 8 years, but he did not let me know his deepest pain. I wanted to carry it alone, he said. I told him marriage did not work that way. He asked if I could forgive him. I said forgiveness could not begin before one clear promise. You cannot hide another part of your life, I said. Not from me. James agreed. I also told him he needed to face his parents. I did not offer to solve that pain. It was his work. However, I said I could stand beside him. James looked surprised. Does that mean you are staying? He asked. I picked up my ring, but I did not put it on. It means I am not deciding tonight. I needed time. He needed to show me the truth through his actions. During the next weeks, we spoke every evening. Some talks were calm. Some ended in tears. James answered every question. Then one evening, he placed his phone on the table and called his parents. James did not ask me to speak during the call. I sat near him and held his hand. When his mother answered, he said, "Mom, it is Daniel." He cried before she answered. I could hear her crying too. That call did not fix every problem. It only opened a door he closed years ago. James later told his parents about me and our daughters. He also started getting help for his painful memories. I watched him face the truth each day. Slowly, I started to trust his actions. 3 months later, I put my wedding ring on again. But I told him our marriage could not return to its old form. We needed to build it again with complete truth. I did not forget the years of silence. Forgiving James did not mean saying his choice was right. It meant seeing all of him and choosing my next step with open eyes. James also stopped asking me to forget. He understood that trust needed time. Some days I still looked at him and remembered the old identity card. On those days, he did not hide or become angry. He sat with me and answered my questions again. He used the name James in our daily life, but he no longer ran from Daniel. Both names belonged to the same man. One name carried his pain, the other carried the life we built. At last, he allowed me to know them both. A year later, the wooden box stayed in our home. It was no longer hidden in the garage. James placed it on a shelf in our bedroom. Inside were Peter's photos, the old card, and the letter James never gave me. We kept that letter because it showed us where fear could lead. James's lie almost ended our marriage. His truth did not repair it in one day. Honest choices repaired it slowly. I learned that love does not mean accepting every secret. Love needs truth, even when truth causes pain. James learned that a new name could not remove an old memory. We stayed together, but not because the past was easy. We stayed because he finally faced it, and because real trust begins when hiding ends.